Welcome to the Stuff and Things Podcast, your home for all stuff related to your favorite things in entertainment. Now, here are your hosts.
Hello everybody and welcome to a new episode of the Stuff and Things Podcast, our weekly series. Today is episode 17 of Stuff and Things 2.0. Today we're discussing the UK versus the USA in humour, sitcoms, shows of that ilk. Joining me to have that discussion is my partner in crime, it's Stefan.
Oh man, 17 episodes in already.
Yes.
We're
Time does fly when you're
through.
having fun. Mate, this was an interesting one. When me and you came up with the concept for the show, like going like the weekly episodic,
Yes.
we were brainstorming, just like throwing out ideas of different topics and stuff to discuss. Some was dead easy, and some was a bit more like, okay, well that's a little bit niche. How about we combine it and stuff? So it was kind of fun doing that, and you know, still has been, and we're still working our way through them, which is great.
Yep.
No idea what we're going to do when we get the album. I think we might just go back to the start and just do it again. Just like, see if anyone
but in a
notices.
different order.
Yeah, just see if anyone picks up on it. Like, didn't you guys talk about this before? No.
Do not remember
But
this.
on this, like, because I wrote this one down thinking, oh, this would be kind of fun. This would be interesting. And I remember saying it to you, like, oh, UK versus USA humour. And you went, yeah, USA just trounces us. And I was like, what? What? And you were like, yeah, US shows are loads better, like this kind of thing, sitcoms. And I was like, well, this is going to be a fun show. so yeah, I love both, which is kind of interesting because I could list countless what would be classed as US sitcoms that I really enjoy.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I can list a quite serious amount of UK ones. And one of the things that I think is kind of interesting, and it's the topic I want to kick off with, I think US humour, probably because of the movie industry being largely Hollywood until, you know, very recently, means that the world from a film point of view have been Americanized. Like the kind of, we grow up in the UK watching films, American films of American high school, these kind of things. So we understand that, or at least we have a very a film depiction of it in our minds, and we get it. And so then the humour of it, we kind of get as well.
Yeah.
I don't think, in a lot of ways, British humour, for example, naturally translates. I mean, I'm talking in general terms. I think, like, there are shows that are really, really big here. People love, find it hilarious. But then the versions in the US just have fallen flat. Like, and then when you watch, like, if you're someone from the UK and you're like, oh, wow, there's a US version of this show I like. You watch it and you're like, this isn't funny. Like, they've really missed the mark here.
See, this is where I was kind of struggling because we spoke about this whole US versus UK thing.
Yeah.
And my brain, do you know how difficult it was for me to try and think, and still try and think of any, the like proper UK based ones, like the shows that I genuinely seem to watch.
Yeah.
So we've got the ones we already spoke about on the previous podcast, like the Ted Lassos, How I Met Your Mother, Friends, Shrinking, Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah.
All shows like that I've binged. I'm like, well, they're all US based.
Yeah.
And then my brain goes like, what have I watched recently that is a UK based?
I think,
and I've really struggled.
Well, to be honest with you, that again is what I would say to you is an interesting part of the conversation as well, because I'm gonna mention a few shows to you now that are UK sitcom, situational comedy. I would class them as kind of the gold standard, okay?
Yeah.
But what's kind of interesting, and you'll pick up on it straight away, and people listening, especially in the UK, will pick up on it, is none of them are what I'd call modern shows, as in most of them aired decades ago, okay?
Yeah, so I know a few you're going to say. Go on.
Okay, so let me start with one that probably one of the oldest ones I have here, and that's Dad's Army.
Yep.
Did you ever watch Dad's Army?
I watched bits of it. Not masses, but I have watched bits of it.
Basic concept of Dad's Army is a show set in World War II, and it was making a joke out of a very serious situation. When we had the very real possibility of being invaded, our army was fighting in Europe, and so we didn't actually have a standing army in the United Kingdom of one to speak of. You had the RAF defending the skies, but actually if landed on the beaches, we were short. So the government had an initiative where they called it the Home Guard, and the Home Guard was basically anyone who had been too old to enlist, to be conscripted, or anyone who perhaps there was a reason because of their profession and things like that, they weren't conscripted, could join up to this Home Guard, be trained, and would therefore be, a fighting force in every town, in every village across the United Kingdom. We were literally going to make them fight for every inch, which is our mentality.
Yep.
But from a point of view of then like a sitcom writer, it's kind of gold, because what they created, like the dubbed the Dad's Army, because they were all older. A lot of these were veterans from World War One, who were older then, and so here's World War Two, and the comedy of this show is just the idea and the concept of these basically granddads preparing to fight, and the kind of the attitudes of the time as well, and it's a very, very British, very funny show. It does not translate to a US audience. I am confident of that. However,
yeah, I can guarantee they would not get that humour.
No. It's a very, because now even, like my daughter, she would have watched it. She's 17 now, so she would have watched it with me when she was like 10, 11. And she thought it was funny, like this old men trying to play soldiers. It's a funny concept just in that, without understanding any other joke, it's a funny concept.
Yeah.
But when she's like she's asking me things like, oh, why would they do that? I'm like, oh, well, in the 1940s, this was the attitude.
Yeah, why did they do that? Good question.
Yeah, well, it's a good question. Why is there no women in this? Well, they were all in the home. Let me just talk to you about the time. But it just created, so there's a lot of stuff in it that like a modern audience just wouldn't get, because they were playing on all of it. Like the jokes of all of it was there. So it is a show that in British sitcom terms sits up there. It's a great show, but it wouldn't translate at all. It's a show probably outside of the UK no one's ever heard of. You then move on to a show like Only Fools and Horses,
which is an absolute classic. Yep.
Now in the United Kingdom, Only Fools and Horses is like a stable. Like there's very few people, but there are some that don't like it. It's a show that the vast majority of adults grew up with, watching with people and stuff like that, and it's a show that if they announced they were doing a one-off special coming up, you'd have, oh no, it's we're gonna watch it. You would literally get millions. Now, it is again a show which is interesting to me because it's the first one when I was looking into this that I discovered that they did try and make a US version of.
Oh,
did you know that?
I did not know that.
They did, and it fell flat.
I will say I can't imagine that would have worked.
No, it's again, it's like you look at it, and again, possibly me and you, because we do watch so much TV, US and UK, we kind of look at things and go, okay, that's I don't imagine that'd ever work, really. I want to give a special mention because the Only Fools and Horses, the writer of it, unfortunately passed away a number of years ago now. But the one thing about Only Fools and Horses, whenever I watch it, regardless of the fact that it began sort of the late 70s, all through the 80s, stuff like that, I was born in 83. So really a lot of the Only Fools and Horses episodes was set in a time where I was younger and growing up, and sort of so when I watch these episodes back, it's like, oh wow, I forgot the cars look like that. I forgot, you forget these things. But the language is used in it as well. The sort of contemporary language, you kind of cringe a little bit. Like it's kind of like, oh wow, like yeah, that is how people spoke. Like that is, those are the terms that were just frequently used. So it is kind of like a time capsule, if you like, some of these shows, but that one especially because it was written in a way where you felt like they were real people, if you see what I mean. It was like they were real people that you could quite possibly be living next door to in one of these estates. So I had to mention Only Fools and Horses. It's probably one of my favourite shows ever. I now want to mention a really, really obscure one, but it was around the same time, and it was called Allo Allo. Did you ever watch that?
No, Allo Allo was not one I ever saw.
Okay, so I'm just going to explain the concept of this, because again, this would never translate outside of the UK. Like, I think anywhere else in the world, people would just look at this and go, what the actual is going on?
Okay,
This is set in World War II, occupied France, okay? It is set in a cafe run by a man called René. René is an average-looking guy at best. However, every woman in this cafe fancies him for whatever reason, and it's just hilarious that every woman there throws themselves at him.
Okay.
Because you look at a guy and it's like, yeah, I don't get it. But that's the joke, I think. Now, because it's set in France, occupied France, you have Nazi German soldier characters, you have French characters, but obviously it's a show in England, and so it's all speaking English.
Yep.
So what they did, which is insane, is when they are French, they're just speaking English. That's them speaking French. But when they speak German, they just speak English with a German accent. And when they speak English, they do it with a, hello, what, jolly ho.
Okay, yep.
So that is the running joke. And you've got this English spy there who's trying to pass his French. And he's speaking English, obviously, but he's saying everything wrong because he's getting it right. Like, the concept of it is just bonkers. But the show's very funny. It is so stupid. It's very funny. But like I'm saying, like these shows that I'm listing largely are sort of quite old shows. There's like shows like Porridge, which is like set in a prison again. Late
Porridge,
70s,
yeah, I've
80s.
heard that one. Again, something I saw a long time ago.
So moving forward, so the late 80s into the 90s, another show that didn't have many episodes is coming back for a reboot with the same creator, and that's Fawlty Towers. Did you ever watch Fawlty Towers?
I used to love Fawlty Towers.
Yes. Did you know there's a new show coming?
I did not know that.
Yep. Yeah, he's back. He's written a new show. It's not going to be on the BBC because, in his words, the BBC is too politically correct for what he wants to write.
That's always an interesting one.
It's going to be, off the wall. I mean, Fawlty Towers is one of those shows where it feels like there were 10 seasons of 20 episodes a season because you've got all of these things in your mind from the show, and then you find out there was only ever like 8 episodes or something. It's crazy.
Wow, was that it?
Yeah, like there really weren't many. I mean, I don't know the exact number. Apologies. Maybe you can IMDb this whilst I ramble, but there really weren't many episodes of it. But there's so many iconic moments in it. Like there's this guy who's running this coastal kind of hotel with his wife. To say that he's under the thumb from his wife is an understatement. But he's like this kind of I'd call him like a stressed Eric character. The guy is just a bundle of stress, energy, and nerves.
Yeah. There was
John
12
Cleese.
episodes. That was it.
12,
yeah.
Okay, so it's slightly more than I thought, but yeah, 12 episodes.
2 seasons of 6 episodes.
Yeah. That is something worth mentioning as well, of course, because TV in the US very different just due to the scale. Obviously, the UK population compared to the US is a fraction. So TV here, traditionally there were 3 channels, then it became 4, then 5 eventually in the year 2000, but that's a fairly modern thing just on, terrestrial TV.
Yeah.
And typically any show, like sitcom based, etc., was 6 episodes. Whereas if you go to the US, due to like the networks, the size of them, due to like the production and what they wanted to do in terms of like the vast size of the country and then syndication, you typically get sort of 22, 24 episodes of a show. Like you look at Friends, Big Bang Theory, shows like that, they are all massive seasons of shows compared to the UK. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, you're looking at like 20 plus episodes
per
every season.
Yeah.
And multiple seasons.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, if a show's a hit, they churn them out.
They really do.
But yeah, so I wanted to mention Fawlty Towers because it is coming back, so it's going to be very interesting to see how that's going to play out. Another show I just want to give a special mention to is Father Ted. Did you ever watch Father Ted?
Again, bits of, not masses.
Ah, feck. Okay, we won't talk about that.
I've probably seen enough of it to know what you're talking about.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very, very silly show, and again, my point is very niche. There's no way on earth that show gets made in America.
Oh
no way. The level of jokes at the Catholic Church, there's just no way that gets made.
Can you imagine?
Well, I can, and it just wouldn't get out of the writer's room. I want to move on to another show which I loved when I was younger, and it's a show called Red Dwarf.
Oh, yes, Megan L. Okay, yep.
Yeah, so The Boys from the Dwarf. Now, there's 2 things about this which I find fascinatingly beautiful. Red Dwarf was a UK sitcom set in space, and it's all about characters who get basically lost in space. There's loads of circumstances, and it's just a fun situational comedy of this sort of odd bunch put together and space and sci-fi situations.
Yeah.
It's a very funny show. The concept is kind of straightforward, just make it sci-fi, and it is a very good show. What is funny to me is the fact that show, as it is, has had so many seasons, and they're still going, by the way.
Yeah, that is a show that refuses to die.
Yes, and it has there has been including the cast all hating each other at one point, but they all keep coming back. It's very impressive. But the main reason why, which I only found out when I was doing this, it found an American audience after season 6. And when I say it found it, basically some I think the Sci-Fi Channel in the US picked it up, took an option on it, and aired it at a silly time. It was just that's a sci-fi show, we'll stick it on. No, that fills a slot. It's cheap. We got it from the BBC in England.
That'll do. Yeah,
that'd do. And it grabbed this sort of cult geek nerd fandom in the US to the point that they have massive conventions there that started a long time ago. It created a thing. The show even gets mentioned in The Big Bang Theory. I don't know if you were aware of that.
It does,
Sheldon,
yeah.
Sheldon says I've got every season of the British sitcom Red Dwarf. Come watch. Which is crazy. That show, did so much for that kind of fandom and things. But what is amazing to me is then, of course, what they wanted to do is to make a US version of Red Dwarf.
Of course they did, yeah.
And they made a pilot. And the pilot exists. You can go and watch it on YouTube. And this nearly broke the UK show because the US show, with the pilot being filmed, wanted to cast a few of the members from the British show. And of course, they were willing to pay serious money compared to what the actors were getting paid in the UK.
Yep.
And one of them took the deal. The actor who plays Crichton went to the US version of the show, filmed the pilot. Like I said, you can find this on YouTube, Red Dwarf US pilot, There's a few faces people might recognize, like, oh wow, that's an actor I recognize. It is awful. It is so awful. None of the jokes land. None of it makes sense. They changed around origin stories. It is terrible. It is one of those things that you watch it and it is so terrible. You're kind of like, oh, you gave it a good go, didn't you?
Yeah, you tried. Little pat on the head. Well done. You tried.
But what is so funny is the main reason why that pilot failed is the US audience had fallen so in love with the UK version of the show, they took it almost like an insult that, like, oh, you're trying to remake this show that's already great now. We're not interested. So you got all these conventions and stuff like that that are basically, this network obviously thought, oh, we got a big fan base here. We're in. This is going to be good. This is going to be gold. Nope, absolutely shut that shit down hard. So yeah, no, Red Dwarf, a massive thing. And then, of course, it nearly killed the show here, because, of course, then when Robert Llewellyn, the man who plays Crichton, returned and was like, hey, guys, I'm back, everyone else was a bit like, oh, hey, fuck you.
Yeah, how did it go in America, asshole?
Yeah, basically. So yeah, that's kind of crazy. Now, sitcoms, the UK, there is another show that isn't remade in the US, and I think, again, it's a show that couldn't be remade, but does again have a very big cult following in the US, and that's Blackadder.
Wow. Yeah.
Did you watch Blackadder?
I know Blackadder.
Yeah. That show has 4 different seasons, 4 different eras of the show. Yes. It then did a special around the millennium, which even the writers try to pretend didn't happen.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there was a funny thing with Ben Elton very recently where he's basically like, yeah, there's 4 seasons of the show, and someone said, oh, and that's special, and he went, yeah, there's 4 seasons of the show. I mean, it was a funny concept, but because they made it for someone else, I've started this, so I'll do it now. So there's 4 seasons of the show,
yeah,
and the way these shows were done, there wasn't a live studio audience, but the show was played to a live audience, and their reactions then became like the laugh track to the show. So, it's sort of like a different way of doing it. Because of the sets, you couldn't do it like in front of the audience. So that is how the show The Laugh Track existed. When they did the special, it was done with Sky. They wanted to keep it complete secret until it was aired. That was Sky's decision. So when the show aired, there's no laugh track. It just didn't feel the same show.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like, you make that slight adjustment. Like, someone once said to me, like, if you ever watch Friends with the audience laughter removed, it feels like an eerily weird show.
God, yeah, I can imagine.
And I think any show, I think genuinely, if you do that, like where you have that laugh track, that kind of thing, you remove it, that's weird. Like, it doesn't feel the same.
Yeah.
Like, there are certain shows where you don't have it anyway, but it's still funny. But the ones that do, and that's what you're used to, that's the format of this show. Yeah, it kind of freaks you out a bit.
Why is there no one laughing?
Yeah, like, I thought that was funny and no one laughed. Oh, maybe I shouldn't laugh then.
And there's a lot of British humour. If you take away that kind of everyone else is laughing at the same time, that can make you feel very awkward very quickly.
Very, very, very quickly. But yeah, so Blackadder really, really did nail it, and the season 4 finale, for example, goes down as like one of those, oh crap, like that's how they ended it. Like, oh wow, that's kind of beautifully brutal, because the season 4 was in the trenches of World War I.
I was going to say, yeah, it is that, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and it literally ends with them going over the top and them all dying, and then you get the screen fade to a poppy field, and that's it. That's the end. And you're just like, oh, wow. Yeah, jeez. Like, you forget just how... Like, because it's such a funny show and it's so silly, you then have that reality of, oh, yeah, this was actually friggin' terrible, and this is really what happened.
Yeah, this really is how it ended, and you suddenly go, oh.
Yeah, it's horrific. Now, all of those shows I've mentioned to you, like I said right at the start, you're quite right. That's 70s, some of them. I mean, 60s with Dad's Army. 70s, 80s, and into the 90s. Like the It Crowd in the 90s, for example, was a fantastic show. It kind of missed me. It was one of those shows I wish I'd watched, because when I tried to watch it years later, it's like, yeah, none of this hits now. Like, it's very much of its time. Like, it's like, yeah, this just feels forced. But all of those shows I mentioned, now to bring it a bit more contemporary, if you like, I'm going to mention a couple of shows. So this one is the big one for me, because this one did get remade in the USA and arguably went on to be a bigger show because of it, and that's The Office.
Yep.
So some American listeners to our podcast might have an eyebrow raised here, because it still amazes me that some people don't know that that was a UK show. Written by Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant.
Yep.
My fellow Bristolian. And set in a UK office. Like, if you look at the cast of that show, like Martin Freeman, for example, basically, you just, like, it's amazing that cast they put together, UK talent. And the show, I see everyone's got different work environments and stuff like that, but I actually was working in offices at the time this show came out.
Okay.
These kind of open plan kind of office building, all these different people, and I remember watching it just being like, oh wow, yeah, like that is so, like, you're just kind of, I've worked with that guy. And that was the whole thing of this show. It was like, oh, I've worked with that guy. Like, oh, yeah, I've worked with that woman. You know, just kind of, you could really see it. and you could tell the people who wrote it had really worked in offices. And really...
They understood, yeah.
And it was done in this style, which, to the best of my knowledge, hadn't been done before. Or at least not to this level, anyway. Where it was like a mockumentary sitcom, where it's like the whole thing's filmed as if someone is making a documentary about this company, and these people are, like, you know, going about their lives but are being filmed for this thing, and like, so you have a lot of talking to camera moments and stuff like that. When I saw that the show was going to the US, it was funny to me, because I thought to myself, well, I wonder if it'll work, because there's so much UK humour in it. Like, UK humour in The Office, I dare say, is very different to the US humour in offices. Like, I don't know how that's going to translate. What they did sensibly was they created the same show, but used the US writers' room to basically go, right, okay, this is the concept of the show, this is the format. We don't get, like, we've never worked in a US office. You guys all have. So bring out the characters that you would find in a US office. Yeah, we've got we got Jim and all these characters and stuff that we're all going to move across, but make them US.
Yeah.
That show ran for a number of seasons, like 20 odd episodes a season, and is loved in the US. Like, the US version of that show, like I said, there's going to be people listening to this don't realise it's based on the UK version. But it is beloved. And also, amazingly, it hit streaming and it's gone huge worldwide. Like, even back here in the UK, I know people who prefer the US office to the UK version.
Yeah.
That's pretty rare. Like, in all the stuff I was looking through, for something to grab hold both sides of the pond, so to speak, very rare.
That one does the job, though, yeah.
So, I got 2 more shows that are UK based that are more recent sitcoms that both also had US remakes, but the US remakes lasted 1 season and was cancelled.
Oh, okay.
The first one is a show, again from the BBC, called Ghosts. It ran for 4 seasons plus specials, Christmas specials and stuff. And you might still get Christmas specials going forward, but we don't know. But Ghost is a funny concept of a young couple, and the woman inherits this old manor house. She's the last living descendant of the Button family, I think it is. And so they're kind of living in London in this, like, box apartment. All of a sudden they got this huge manor house. Now, although that sounds amazing, the manor house is falling down. They don't have any money. It's like they need to try and raise money to get repairs and stuff like that. They're trying to do as much as they can themselves. She climbs a ladder one day. She spots something out of the corner of her eye, falls and hits her head. After she's hit her head, suddenly she can see ghosts, and this manor house is haunted. And it has ghosts from every time period you can imagine haunting the house, all the way back to a caveman who's basically haunted this ground since he died there when it was a hut, all the way through for different members of her family through the generations. There's like a soldier from when the house was used as a hospital during the World War II and things like that. There's a crooked politician who died with his pants down, so he walks around all the time like with his pants down, because he was having an affair and died of a heart attack and stuff like that in the 80s. The characters are zany, off the wall, and it's from the same people who made Horrible Histories, the kids show.
Oh, okay, yep.
It is funny. Like, I just laid out the concept of it. It is funny. It's a very funny show. There's some lines in it where you're just like, oh my god, that's hilarious. It got picked up in the US. It bombed after. I mean, like, again, the concept is funny and it should be transferable. Like, that as a concept should work, but it just didn't hit. So the one I'm going to end on, which I think is the most recent sitcom I can think of, which went big here and spawned 2 films from it, and that's The In-Betweeners.
Yes. Now, this is what I have seen.
You a fan of The In-Betweeners?
Do you know what? I was when I was younger.
Yes.
I watched an episode a few weeks ago.
Yeah, did it just make you cringe?
Mate, it's crap.
You just cringe.
It's so crap. I'm like, I judge my younger self for going to the cinema and watching the first movie.
Yeah, I
mean, it hasn't aged well.
But
I haven't aged well.
Well, I was about to say, I don't think it's not that it's not aged. I just think now you're watching it the same way your parents would have watched it when you were laughing your ass off.
And what terrifies me is that they've just green-lighted a new series.
Yeah.
With the original cast. And I'm like, but they're now, like, not children anymore.
But that's, I think the idea, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do with that. However, I think the very, very funny concept would them to be looking at them as adults, perhaps married, perhaps with girlfriends, perhaps with kids, and how they're still idiots. But now, because that again could be very, very funny, and me and you would find that very, very funny, whereas the teenage versions of us wouldn't. If you see what I mean. Whereas when we were watching, like you were watching, and I was sort of, a bit a bit older, I was looking at it going, oh my god, I remember I had a mate who said stupid shit like that. Oh god, I remember, like, you really kind of live in that going, yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Doing anything you can to impress the girls at the disco and all that kind of crap. So I remember, like, you're saying about, like, I can't believe I went to the cinema to watch it. I went to the cinema to watch Kevin and Perry Go Large. That is up there as one of the most ridiculous, stupid... And I laughed my ass off. But again, I saw that on, like, I thought I'll put that on for... I turned it off. Like, I was just like, that is not funny.
Yeah, see, I never, ever got Kevin and Perry. I think I was the wrong age, but I never got it.
It was very much of its time. So it's interesting because there's a chicken and an egg scenario here. The vast majority of those shows I've listed, and by the way, there are a lot more. Like there's sort of like Yes Minister, Yes Prime Minister, and other shows like that are just fantastic. And then you can go into like the topical kind of shows like Have I Got News for You and things like that, which aren't really sitcoms, but have transferred around the globe and stuff like that, but funny, mock the week and things like that. But
yeah,
you're quite right in like what recently have I watched, and there isn't really a UK show like Only Fools and or stuff like that, which was when it was on, you watched it. You're watching every episode each week. It just doesn't seem to exist now, for me anyway. I did have a look just to see, like, how, well, you know, is British sitcoms dead? Like, is there just none left now? There are loads. I don't think any of them are funny, and that could just be me and my age. But I like read through this list. I was like, yeah, I've watched an episode of that. I turned it off. And we were like, yeah, I saw the trailer for that, and it looked awful. Like I'm just like working my way through it. So it could very well just be an individual taste thing, an age thing. But I don't think the writing anymore. Like they revived the show. Like there was a show called Open All Hours, which was hilarious. And they revived that show, brought it back. And when I watched it, like there was a couple of episodes, it was like, these are the old jokes. And the old jokes are still landing, they're kind of funny, but you've also added so many new characters, so many kind of, as I dare say this, like kind of, look, this show is set the exact same spot as it used to be, but now we have characters of every color, every race, every this, every religion, every, like, because we have to do that now. We have to show you how diverse every road in England is now.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Like, okay, that's fine. But then you see, like, I have a first-hand experience of this. Like, I'm a failed writer in this sense of I wrote a sitcom. I wrote it, I went via I'm not going to name it, but I went via a writer's room, which is open to the public. Got lauded, loads of compliments to it, really, really funny concept and all this stuff, and I was like, oh wow, like I'm an amateur, this is really great. Only to then get quizzed on, yeah, but where's a person of this ethnicity, where's this, where's that, why isn't this character gay, why isn't this character this, and I just said, well, one, how do you know they're not? Like, this is just words on a page. And two, I'm writing about an area that I know because I lived in it, and none of that, like, that's not there. That's not the reality of that tiny little corner of England that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like, I'd be making it up. Like, I'd be changing the reality for that little corner. And I got very disheartened after that. Like that killed me for trying again, because it was like, so you're saying like, oh, the concept's great, the characters are brilliant, it's really funny, this is exactly the sort of thing we're looking for, however we need you to change every character so it ticks all these boxes.
Yeah.
And it's like, that doesn't work. So yeah, so I don't know whether perhaps there is a very stale thing, and I think you only got to look at John Cleese talking about Fawlty Towers being rebooted and how he's done a deal with a streaming, like a Sky type cable sort of network, because he's like, I can't write what I want to write for the BBC or anyone anymore because it's all box ticking.
Yeah.
So I do wonder if perhaps the British sitcom has suffered because of that, because of this kind of feeling of, because if I was to write, like, because if I wrote about my experience living in Bristol, for example, that is a multicultural my experience there would be, okay, like there is, I can write a character from every background you can imagine because I was around every person that you can imagine in that area. But I'm not. I'm basing something in this sleepy little seaside town which doesn't have that. Like, yeah. So yeah. But what makes it worse, in my opinion anyway, and I'll just say this and then move on, was that their solution for me was mad. Was like, well, we'll just add like an Indian restaurant, or just add a Chinese restaurant, or just add like a corner shop. And I'm like, do you realise how stereotyped, like you were literally, like you realise what you're doing right now?
Yeah, this little sleepy town now has 3 restaurants. One Indian, one Chinese, and an Italian, just to make sure we cover the European base.
Yeah, just to make sure, and you think that's good. Like literally, here are some stereotypes, go for it. So that's kind of maddening, but it is what it is. So I think this is a chicken and egg scenario. I'll go back to what I said a minute ago. I think the strength and the sheer access to US shows in the UK now, which wouldn't have existed in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, probably the late 90s into the 2000s, it started to really come across. has actually killed the UK to a certain extent of like writing shows. Like, why should I spend money on writing a show and all this when I can just air this massive show from the US, which, you know, is bang to get viewing figures, etc.
Yeah.
You do look at the shows like you mentioned earlier on, the How I Met Your Mother, Friends, Big Bang Theory, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. These massive sitcoms from the US are huge hits here. I mean, they're huge hits globally. But you only got to look at it. It's so, ever so funny at the end of the year, so this is not, you know, not far off. You'll get those, all the streaming platforms do these kind of figures. Like, okay, in the UK, like, Friends was watched for like 600 million hours like, this year and stuff. And it's kind of mental because that show is 20 odd years since it finished now, but people just put it on like in the background. Like my daughter, for example, has now got it, and she's like, if there's nothing on, I'll put Friends on. Like, I'll load Netflix, put Friends on, and I'll just carry on doing what I'm doing, and it's just on in the background. People do that with like Big Bang Theory and stuff like that. Like, these shows are just so cool, so easy watching, so to speak. Yeah, but I mean, I don't know where the debate is on this. Like, I don't know who wins this. Like, for me, it's like I pointed out all these shows, and it feels like you go to them and you could hold them up like head to head and say, well, you know, you got this show in the US, but then you got this one in the UK. But contemporarily, like right now, there's not really a contest because there's nothing that exists in the UK that's kind of holding the British end up, so to speak.
Yeah, it kind of makes a very one-sided argument because the USA has pulled out the last 5 years, 10 years. Yeah. The USA has brought over so many.
I mean,
like the shows you've mentioned on this podcast today.
Yeah.
If you give me a choice of any of those versus something like Scrubs, How I Met Your Mother, Big Bang Theory, Friends, I'm going to watch them ones.
Yeah, see, I don't know. It's I mean,
mainly
look,
because a lot of it is also, you know, it's now the outdatedness of it.
I was about to say it's interesting because I would watch Only Fools and Horses over pretty much any TV show on the planet. But there's reasons to that. Like, I have an emotional attachment because I shared that with my dad, sort of thing. Yeah. We both have a mutual kind of love. Like, I see something in those characters that reminds me of members of my family, like where I grew up in Bristol and stuff. Yeah. Because big parts of Only Fools and Horses was actually filmed in Bristol, even though it's Peckham in London and stuff. So there's an emotional attachment to that for me, but at the same time there's like an emotional attachment to a few US shows. Like How I Met Your Mother, for example, was a show that I came to when it was like 5 seasons in, I think. Caught like a random episode on E4 in the UK and was like, oh, this feels like a piss take out of Friends sort of thing. They're not in a coffee shop, they're in a bar. I think even in the episode I'm watching, they were drinking in a coffee shop going, yeah, this isn't as good as a bar. And I'm like, yeah, you are literally taking the piss out of Friends. So then I caught like a few episodes, but that show, like any good sitcom, in my opinion, can make you laugh and cry. Like you can laugh your ass off at what's going on, but it has an emotional punch to it that every now and again, like, oh wow, like.
Yeah.
And we've talked a little bit about how Bill Lawrence on the Bill Lawrence Appreciation Show is like the master of that.
Oh, like massively! You're laughing. Holy yeah.
Yeah, Scrubs, Ted Lasso, Shrinking. Those shows have that to it where you fall in love with the characters and you almost mourn the end of the show. Like because I then binge watched How I Met Your Mother, for example, and it was during a time where I was like really struggling with what was going on in my life, and it was kind of like this little escape I had. And so, but the thing is, you get so engrossed in it, so everything, and like the show ends, and you're almost like in mourning for these people. Like, I've lost my friends. Like I escaped from the humdrum of my life, going on with their lives, and now it's gone.
Yeah.
It's difficult for me to kind of say, like, I don't disagree with you. Like, I'm not going to say to you, you're wrong, because I think it's a very personal thing as well. I think you can have attachments to sort of shows like I have, like I've just explained. But I also think, like, so for example, I'm going to say this, like, Friends, one of my favourite shows, I've not been able to watch an episode since Matthew Perry died.
Yeah, I understand that.
I watched that reunion episode and listened to the sheer trauma and kind of sheer problems he was having, like, constantly during the filming of that show. And he was so open in talking about, like, how when he saw one of the other characters getting a bigger laugh from the live audience, he'd have to do something stupid, like, to get the bigger laugh. Otherwise, his brain would explode. And you just realise how awful that was for him, like, and what a bad place he was in.
Yeah.
And now he's gone so relatively young, like, and such tragic circumstances, after writing a book, which now, if you read that book, feels like a horrible suicide note almost. Like, you read it, he's basically like a goodbye to the world, that book.
Yeah, that's the reason I've not been able to.
Yeah, it was like honestly, man, it's like he knew. It's just awful. And I can't watch it. Like, it isn't the same now. Like, but my daughter watched episodes and stuff like that, and like, there's an emotional thing to it as well. Like, a kind of, I shared that with someone, like, a mutual love of it, and it's kind of like, yeah, this all just doesn't feel right anymore. It doesn't feel funny anymore. It doesn't feel good anymore. So yeah, it's you can have these kind of, like, emotional attachments or emotional detachments from shows. But I don't, like, for me, I don't think I can declare, like, a clear winner based on what I found funny, but I think I can declare a clear winner in the sense of contemporary, like, more modern, like, what is being produced now, the stuff that's funny now. Possibly just because of my age, because of the stuff is more, perhaps I'm watching stuff more geared to me, and if I was younger, some of these UK sitcoms that exist now would be hilarious, but I just shake my head at them now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we got to hand it to the US on this one.
I think the American wins on this one, I'm afraid.
Yeah, for sitcoms. I don't think the US sense of humour is as good as ours, I will say that, but when it comes to the sitcoms, I think...
Yeah, in terms of sense of humour, America seems to be a lot more slapstick, whereas we seem to be a lot more dry and sarcastic.
Yeah, I think you've nailed that. I don't think there's anything else to add to that. Thank you, everybody, for listening to this week's episode. I hope you've enjoyed it. Get in touch, let us know all of the shows we didn't mention that you're mad at us for not mentioning, because we do, every 10 episodes, look to do a... what did we miss? We'll go through all the comments and stuff from the episodes. We will then do a show, like, literally going through it, like, oh, when we discussed it this week, we didn't say this. Okay, and we'll go through it. We did that around episode 10. We're going to do it again episode 20. Today is episode 17, so do get in touch. Until then, you all take care. Until next week, where we're talking about sporting movies, which should be interesting. Until then, everybody, you all take care, and I'm going to leave you now with Stefan and his final thought.
If you're invisible and close your eyes, can you still see anyway?
Thank you for listening to the Stuff and Things podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. You can find us on Facebook or online. Simply search the Stuff and Things podcast to join in our conversation every week.